by Vice President Dr. Isatou Toure was in Doha, Qatar for the 2021 World Innovation Summit for Education. As Aliou Cissé reports, the summit seeks to shape the future of education.
The Gambian delegation was among several education stakeholders and innovators from around the world attending this influential three-day summit to shape the future of education. The theme for this year's summit is Generation Unmoved, Reclaiming Our Future Through Education. Led by the Vice President, the delegation also included First Lady Fatoumata Bah Barrow, the Ministers of Basic and Secondary Education and Gender and Children Affairs. Vice President Dr. Isatou Toure highlighted the Gambia's commitment to promoting quality and inclusive education.
Part of the 2021-22 plans and the policy direction is addressing those barriers, like the challenges I have discussed earlier. These are challenges that are they've already started addressing by providing ICT, encouraging distance learning, and also providing resources, and also improving the school infrastructure and making it accessible.
First Lady Fatoumata Bah Barrow renewed her office's continued commitment to promoting and supporting quality education in the Gambia.
Education is a right. It shouldn't be a privilege. It should be a right to every child. And being a leader, today, if I was not educated, I can't do the things that I've been doing for the Gambia. That's the reason why I have the resilience and the encouragement to see the children of the Gambia to be educated.
Fatou Kinte, the Minister of Gender, Children and Social Welfare, and Fode Malang, the Gambia's ambassador to Qatar, both welcomed the summit as being critical for the development of the education sector.
When you educate a girl child, you empower her. When you empower her, you improve her status, you improve her welfare, and she's able to participate in all levels of decision making at the level of the household and also at national level.
A program that all these delegations come to represent on behalf of the Gambia has to do with ensuring that every child of primary school age is schooled or goes into school. And this would happen based on the collaboration between Education Above All, through their arm of educating a child or educate a child. Both these organizations belong to Qatar Foundation that Seha Mauza, the mother of the Emir and the nation, is initiated and she's chairperson of.
Joining the summit via Zoom, Paul Kagame, President of Rwanda, hailed the government of the Gambia and UNESCO for attaining milestone achievements in inclusive education for all.
I also commend the work that the Gambia and UNESCO are doing to ensure that every child has access to quality education. Our greatest asset is our people.
Launched in 2009 by Her Highness Sekha Moza bin Nasir, the World Innovation Summit for Education, WISE, is a Qatar Foundation initiative developed to promote creative thinking, debate, and purposeful action in the education sector. Since then, the biennial summit has become an international platform spanning multiple year-round projects and programs that are helping build the future of education through collaboration. This year's summit, the 10th edition, saw contributions from over 300 speakers across over 200 sessions, including programs curated by youth changemakers from around the world. Reporting for QTV News, I am Aliou Cissé.
The National Human Rights Commission on Friday observed International Human Rights Day and conducted its second edition of the Sir Dawda Kairaba Jawara Moot Court competition. Mamadou Lamin Choi reports.
It is a two-in-one event organized by the National Human Rights Commission of the Gambia. The Commission commemorates International Human Rights Day together with the final of its annual Human Rights Moot Court competition. The competition is named after Gambia's first president, Sir Dawda Kairaba Jawara, in honor of his role in the development of the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, also known as the Banjul Charter. In fulfillment of its constitutional mandate to promote and protect human rights in the country, the Human Rights Commission is exploring the academic potential of UTG law students through moot court competition. Emmanuel Daniel Juf is the NHRC chair.
While Gambians that have crossed Europe continue to be deported back to the Gambia, there is a significant lack of clarity on the nature of obligation of the deporting state and also the Gambia.
The theme for this year's Moot Court competition is respect of human rights for migrants in Africa, a theme that is significant for the African continent, whose sons and daughters are regular victims of human rights abuses on their migration journey. Yvonne Masarakufa of the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights describes the theme as apt for a global and national context wherein migration has become a human rights issue.
Migrants can be vulnerable to human rights violations and tend to be disproportionately vulnerable to discrimination, exploitation, and marginalization, often living and working in the shadows, afraid to complain and deny their human rights and fundamental freedoms.
The International Organization for Migration estimates that globally there are 272 million migrants, nearly 2/3 of which are labor migrants. IOM Chief of Mission in the Gambia, Fumiko Nagano, reports these migrants often find themselves in vulnerable situations, leaving them at the risk of abuse.
While migrants are not inherently vulnerable, and in fact many are very resilient, we must recognize that migrants often find themselves in vulnerable situations where their rights are at risk. We can think of the young Gambians pushed by circumstances to take extremely dangerous journeys across the Sahara or the Atlantic.
The Moot Court is conducted in partnership with the UTG's Faculty of Law, whose students are the participants of the competition. The acting dean of the law faculty, Malik Hejbi Jallo, is grateful for the initiative and expresses the academic institution's commitment to collaborate with efforts to foster the legal profession and promote human rights. A Moot Court is an academic platform in which law students argue hypothetical cases for practice, which finalists in this year's competition have done.
It is clear within the factual records that the people of Nungu, in search for a better economic and livelihood, Your Excellencies, were subject to detention and arrest and detention, and were kept in inhumane and degrading conditions.
We deny the allegations that have been put forward by the applicants in this case, and that we have not failed in our obligations as a state in order to fulfill the requirements of the international instruments which we have ratified as a state, including the ICRMW.
A team comprising Mohamed Sise and Ebenezer Okoko were each given a cash prize of $25,000 and the runners-up $20,000. The best participants will also benefit from a 6-month paid internship at the National Human Rights Commission. Mahmoud Lamin Choi, QTV News.
Also, the Women's Association for Victims Empowerment, WAVE, in collaboration with the Gambia Federation of the Disabled, joined the rest of the world to commemorate International Human Rights Day, observed every year on 10th December. Omar Pijalo has the rest of that story.
The day also coincided with the end of the 16th day of activism against gender-based violence. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights, UDHR, is a milestone document which proclaims the inalienable rights that everyone is entitled to as a human being, regardless of race, color, religion, sex, language, political or other opinion, national or social origin, property, birth or other status. The document is available in more than 500 languages. It is the most translated document in the world. The 2021 theme is Equality, Reducing Inequalities, Advancing Human Rights, which relates to equality, and Article 1 of the UDHR, that all human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. The chairman of the Gambia Federation of the Disabled, Mohamed Krubali, said persons with disabilities should not be subjected to violence or any form of discrimination, but should be treated equally with everyone else.
Everyone is entitled to inherent dignity and fundamental freedom of human rights. Here, everyone includes women with disabilities, is entitled to all fundamental freedom, justice, equality, and freedom in the world.
Speaking on behalf of the Fankanta Association, Malen Jobata said cases of rape against persons with disabilities are common in the Gambia, and therefore measures should be taken to protect persons with disabilities from sexual and gender-based violence.
And ensure that perpetrators are brought to justice. We have the magistrate here, and I'm sure he's helping everyone to ensure that perpetrators are brought to justice. Nobody should be looked aside when it comes to these violations.
John Charles Njai, the chairperson of Tango, said his association is committed to ensuring the disability bill, which was recently approved by Cabinet, is fully implemented.
How can we work together to ensure that the government supports people living with disability, especially you, the women? What you need to realize your potential, what you need to grow, what you need to develop, you must have, because Gambia is yours as much as it is mine.
Adam Assar, the treasurer of the Gambia Federation of Disabled and a differently abled person, pledged to stand for equality and non-discrimination, especially for persons with disabilities.
So tutal sa bopa tam kenen ku nek ci biti dina la tutal yow gomal sa bopa xamne yow mun nga defal sa bopa lu kenen ki nga xamne amul disability di defal bopam.
The principles of equality and non-discrimination are aligned with the 2030 agenda and with the UN approach set out in the document shared framework on leaving no one behind. Equality and non-discrimination are at the heart of sustainable development, as it includes addressing and finding solutions for deep-rooted forms of discrimination that have affected the most vulnerable people in societies, including women and girls and people with disabilities, among others, to reduce inequalities and resume our path towards realizing the 2030 agenda. Reporting for QTV News, I am Omar P. Jallo.
We will now go for a commercial break. When we return, we will have more local news stories.
To make sure your company's products and services reach your potential customers, it is essential that you choose the right channel for your marketing purposes. QTV has the widest reach locally and beyond, and we can give your business the visibility it needs. Call QTV Marketing on +220 324 4444 or email us at marketing@qtv.gm and take your business to the world.
I am the light goddess. Everything I touch turns into light. I am the light at the end of the tunnel, and my technology is the answer. I am the happiness in your life. I keep you connected, and I am Q-Power. I am Q-Cell. I am Sunibus. We innovate, others follow. Call 111 for more information.
Welcome back. For more than 5 decades, the Gambia has preserved and maintained its historical records at its national archives that host thousands of material records dating back 200 years ago. QTV's Momodu Lamin Chai looks at the significance of the National Archives and an ongoing project to digitize it.
The National Archive is the nation's record keeper and is located at the Quadrangle in Banjul, a structure established by the British and a center of colonial administration. Hassim Cisse is a lead Gambian historian who spends a lot of time at the National Archive to research and document interesting facts of Gambian history, and he helps us access and explore the facility. Records kept, preserved and maintained here date from 1800s to the 1960s and include official correspondence of the then colonial administration, photographs, audio, videos, newspapers, birth registry, list of villages and towns, the Gazette, and other relevant documents during the colonial era. There are at least 6,000 audios, 4,000 files, and 200 audio visuals in the records and more. As the repository of historical facts about us and our country, the archive materials kept here play a significant role in managing and settling disputes between or among us. The renowned historian Hassim Cisse reveals that his research has helped settle several disputes in the country and cites an example.
The latest, it was just late 2020, about Al-Khalosip in some part of the country. They came and I brought them here, and they photocopied some part of the Gazette that was relevant, and the two families sat, and it was settle without even going to court or any, rancor. And I know, I mean, a lot of other things can be settled because the records are here. When disputes come, what do you need? It's records.
Absolutely.
Yes, and when people see the record, they are, convinced.
By preserving the nation's reservoir of record, it ensures present and future generations access to the country's most valuable records of our shared history. To increase accessibility and backup, digitization has become the best strategy in modern times. In the Gambia, there is an ongoing project funded by the University of Hamburg for the digitization of archive materials. The digitization project of our National Archive began in 2015 and is expected to complete in October 2022.
The 6,000 or more of audio would have been digitized. The maybe 3,000 or more files, paper files would have been digitized, and the dozens of video files it would have been digitized, and hundreds of photographs would also have been digitized. And there's a dedicated website that is currently being built by the NCC and University of Hamburg to host this vast document.
The irony of an archive that offers free access to the public is that very few of us are passionate about exploring it, for sometimes in a day it receives 0 visitors, a sad reality for those who maintain and preserve it.
Really, Gambians don't use this archive much. Mostly it is like foreign scholars, foreign-based scholars. They are doing their PhDs or their masters who come and use this archive and the oral archives. And I think that is sad, because our everyday problems in this country can be solved by a check in the archive.
Every 30 years, the National Archive receives government records, some of which it archives and preserves for public access and use. Maps of towns and villages, as demarcated by the Boundary Commission in 1889, which are kept by the National Center for Arts and Culture, are available. All these significant facts represent the country's rich and diverse heritage, history, and culture. Mahmoud Lamin Choi, QTV News.
Businesses are slowly going back to normal after the December 4th presidential election. QTV's Lolly M. Kamara visited the Serekunda market to see how businesses are faring.
Serekunda market is said to be the Gambia's busiest commercial center, as many come from afar to earn a living and to shop there. Walking through the market, one can see many shops and canteens are still closed, and the few that are open are struggling to sell. Manyema Toure, a vendor, said sales have not returned to normal, stating that many may still be celebrating, and gave this advice to Gambians. My advice to Gambians is, the election has passed. We should continue to live in peace. We should not allow politics to divide us. Adam Alay, a vendor, also stressed that sales have been slow immediately after the election, adding that it might take a few days before things return to normal. Since the elections finished, business is slow. Many people are not coming to the market. We come to the market in the morning but barely sell anything, and it can continue like this until next month. Sunkaru Koli, also a vendor, blames the situation on pre-shopping before the election. Many people did their shopping in the days before the election. That really contributed. I have been here since morning, but could not sell even $500 worth of fish. But I hope things will be normal by the end of the month. After the December 4th election, small businesses are finding it difficult, and the business owners that I spoke to are hoping things quickly get back on track. For QTV News, Lolly M. Kamara.
In re-electing Adama Barrow of the National People's Party on December 4th, the electorate is fulfilling its part of a social contract. Our regional correspondent, Bakari Balde, reports on the expectations of the electorate in Jarasoma.
The Gambia has elected a new president who will lead the country for the next 5 years.
To many, the conduct of the election was commendable. People we spoke to in the Lower River region, where President Barrow won 4 of the 6 constituencies, are hopeful of unprecedented developments. Ansumana Sanyang, a native of Kian Quinala, a retired community development officer, says this year's election is one of its kind since Gambia gained independence. He is very much optimistic that the new government will deliver to expectation.
Since the time of Sir Dawda from 1959 to 1960, I have never experienced an election like 2021. This is a great blessing for Gambians. We are optimistic that the next Barrow government will bring a lot of development in the country because they have already done a great job in the country.
Fatou Jangha and Binta Jallo, both businesswomen in Jarasoma, call on government support. They equally have the hope that the new government will not let them down.
Let the government not forget about the people of Soma. A lot needs to be done here. We need more work in our hospital and medicines. We also need road expansion and to reduce the tax we are paying.
Mohamed Jambang advocates for peaceful coexistence and urges his fellow youths to be reasonable and conscious, not to be used by any politicians.
Because of
the election is fair and the losing parties should accept defeat. If we all join Barrow, there will be a lot of development in the Gambia in the next 5 years because the president cannot do it alone. I urge the youth not to allow politicians to use them. Let them unite and support the government.
Bafode Jasi of Jara Pakalindi village calls for youth empowerment and further has this for the re-elected president.
I want them to continue on the developmental projects that they have started in the country, that is the infrastructural developments that are ongoing in the length and the breadth of the country. I also want the government to put more focus on the health sector, and I'm also expecting the government to establish an anti-corruption commission to continue to preach peace and stability in this country, to continue to strengthen democracy in this country.
Hopes are high, and the re-elected president has much more to do to satisfy people's expectations. The big question is, how will President Barrow fare in meeting these expectations? Reporting for QTV News, I am Bahar Balle.
Before we end, here is a recap of the main headlines. A high-powered Gambian delegation led by Vice President Dr. Aissatou Touré was in Doha, Qatar for the 2021 World Innovation Summit for Education. The National Human Rights Commission on Friday observed International Human Rights Day and conducted its 2nd edition of the Sir Dawda Kairaba Jawara Moot Court. The Women's Association for Victims Empowerment WAVE, in collaboration with the Gambia Federation of the Disabled, also joined the rest of the world to commemorate International Human Rights Day today. For more than 5 decades, the Gambia has preserved and maintained its historical records at its National Archives. We looked at the ongoing project to digitize it. That's all we have for you in this edition of QTV News. Join us tomorrow for more news. Thank you for watching.